What do Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. So, I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, lifelong sports fan. So, guys, right out the gate, just want to say, go freaking dogs, go! Trounced Oregon in Atlanta 49-3. Stetson Bennett, my man, you looked like a man on a mission. Offensive Player of the Week, moving up the ranks on Heisman candidate. Just the greatest story I think we could ever have for UGA. A guy who basically didn't even get recruited to our team, was a walk-on, came back after a year of going to JUCO or a couple years in JUCO. Sits behind a couple of guys, ends up starting for the first time ever in his sixth year. He is starting the season as the starter for the first time ever after leading us to a national championship for the first time in over 40 years. Awesome, amazing game to watch. I think Georgia, I feel a lot better about us now. We have a fairly easy schedule overall. The SEC East is not as challenging as the SEC West, so there are still places where we can stumble along the way. Teams like Tennessee and Kentucky are on the rise, so definitely teams that are going to give us some trouble along the way. Florida also surprising Utah, being the number 7 team in the nation and the theoretical best team in the Pac-12, which just goes to show that you just can't compete with the SEC. Our mid-level or bottom-end teams are still better than mid-top teams in other conferences. With the exception of Vanderbilt, who happens to be on a 2-game win streak against not very big opponents. But hey, good for Vandy. They're 2-0 to start the season, leading the SEC East. But that's my quick shout out on the Georgia Bulldogs and the SEC. Now on to the meat of it. Guys, it is Thursday, September 8th, 2022. NFL kickoff tonight. We are finally back. We are here with football. This is my first season as a YouTuber being on and talking about it, and I just can't wait. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do here. If I'm going to start doing, like a pre-week thing where I predict the games, if I'm going to just talk about the Falcons only, definitely going to do post-games on my Falcons. May do a little pre-games on them as well. Not sure. Look for that maybe on Fridays or Saturdays if I do a pregame. But I think I'm going to try on Wednesday or Thursday of every week to drop a video where I just kind of go through the week's games and talk about how I think they're going to go. So, right out the gate, everybody's playing. No bye weeks until week 6 this year. So, right out the gate tonight, we have a banger of a season opener. Last year was an amazing game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really thought the Cowboys were going to win that game. For the first 3 or 4 weeks, Thursday Night Football, which was historically a just absolute shit showing of teams, it was really good. And they're starting off amazing this year with what could have potentially been the Super Bowl last year if things had gone a little differently. You got the Bills at the Rams. Now, this is going to be really interesting. On the Rams, you've got Bobby Wagner replacing kind of Von Miller, who went on to the Bills. So, again, he gets to play the team that he just won a Super Bowl with. You have Jalen Ramsey going up against Stephon Diggs, as well as the emergence of Isaiah McKenzie as a slot receiver there. They also took Khalil Shaker in the in the draft this year, and then you have the emergence of Gabe Davis, who looked amazing in his preseason showing with the first team offense, and had 4 touchdowns last year in the postseason in a single game. So we'll see what happens with him. It's at the Rams. Running back is shaky on both teams. I think Singletary and Akers are both similar style running backs. James Cook, I'm looking forward to seeing if he gets a shot at it. I'm going to have to go, though, since it's home, I am going to lean with the home team. I'm going to pick the Rams, though I think the Bills are going to be right there in it. And it could certainly go either way. This is probably the hardest game to pick all week long. Then going into Sunday, we have Eagles at Lions. I'm kind of bullish on the Eagles after seeing them in the preseason, getting Jordan Davis, getting some of my Georgia Bulldogs, Nakobe Dean. So I think the Eagles are going to beat the Lions. Lions are at home there, but I think it'll be good. The Lions are still going to be competitive. I still think they have a losing record this year, but they're going to be closer to 500 and show some improvement and show why Dan Campbell is an effective leader. Moving on, 49ers at Bears. The Bears are bad. Bears are going to be a bottom five team this year. 49ers, we'll see what Trey Lance has got for us. Brenda Ayuk has had an amazing camp. I think the 49ers win. Not only do they win in Chicago, they win easily in Chicago. Steelers, Bengals. It's going to be interesting. It's at the Bengals. Cincinnati team that just came off the Super Bowl loss could have possibly won it if Eli Apple were not just a Swiss cheese corner. Steelers, you've got a quarterback battle there with Mitchell and Pickett. I think they are, sorry, not Mitchell, Mitch Trubisky there. Bengals, though, I have them winning this game. It'll be close just because the Steelers' defense is good. And we do have the thought that Joe Burrow is coming off of a recent appendectomy in the last couple of weeks. Not a what I would call a major surgery that requires a long recovery, but still something that could slow him down a little bit in the first few games of the year. Moving on, Patriots at Dolphins. Dolphins has the Patriots number. It's at the Dolphins. I think it'll be tight, but I think the Dolphins, again, one of the teams that I'm kind of bullish on this year, and I've got a couple of partners who would really appreciate me saying that. The Dolphins are going to be one of these dark horse teams that I think they've had winning records the last couple of years. I think this is finally the year they make the playoffs. I don't know if they win a whole lot in the playoffs, but they're definitely, I think, on the rise and going to make it. I think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are both going to have good games. You're going to have to pick one of them to guard, and the other one's going to be wide open most of the time. Moving on, Browns-Panthers, revenge game for Baker Mayfield. Browns are starting Jacoby Brissett. I think the Browns roster as a whole is better than Carolina. Carolina had a ton of injuries on defense last year, and they're a very young team overall. There's guys like 5 Points Vids who actually have Carolina winning the entire NFC South division. As Tom Grossi put recently, that's a molten lava hot prediction. I tend to agree with that analysis. However, Panthers, Baker Mayfield recently said something to the effect of he's going to F them up, or he did, he didn't, not sure exactly, but I believe he did. I believe he just is trying to avoid some backlash on that. There's nothing to be backlash here, though. He's going to beat the bejesus out of the Browns for letting him go. Baker, he's one of the guys that I have in FanDuel this week, is a guy that I love pairing with Amari Cooper. Not Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. I think they're going to be a special pair this year, and I do have them winning that game. Colts, Texans. Texans are bad. They're better than they were last year. Probably going to be competitive, but the Colts with Matt Ryan, it's just going to be a different animal than it was last year. You're probably going to look at 120 to 150 yards rushing from Jonathan Taylor in this game, 1 to 2 touchdowns, and then Matt Ryan is going to figure out which receiver he's going to have a rapport with. They've got Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and a couple other guys there, Paris Campbell. They did lose T.Y. Hilton, but again, Colts over Texans. Saints, Falcons. This is the big one. I fracking hate the Saints. I've got a lot of friends from the Mobile area when I was practicing down there who are Saints fans. I wish all of you guys well, but God, I hate the Saints. I do think the Saints are going to beat us. I think we are still a bottom 5 team this year. The Saints have an outside shot at the playoffs this year. We will really get a chance to see if we have built a winning culture here or not. But unfortunately, I do have the Saints beating the Falcons. I think the Falcons will give them hell, and I just don't think we're going to pull it out. I will be there at that game, so I'll actually get to see how we actually do look. Last year, we get people down to third down, third and long, give up 25 to 30 yards on a play. It would just inevitably happen. We've got to get pressure on the quarterback. If we don't get pressure on Jameis Winston, if we don't get pressure on anybody, again, I think it was 17 or 18 sacks total last year, less than everybody else by at least 10 or 11. We've got to fix that, or it's going to be a long, miserable season where the games aren't even going to be watchable. So, Saints over Falcons, hate to say it, but if we beat them, I will be ecstatic. I can't go with my heart here. I've got to go with my head. Saints over Falcons. Moving on, Ravens versus Jets. The Jets are not quite the team that I had hoped they would be. I had hoped Zach Wilson would show some things in the preseason. Instead, he got hurt. They're going to be rolling out Joe Flacco, who does get a pseudo-revenge game against his old team. But the Ravens are healthy, and the Ravens are going to run all over the Jets. I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Ravens win in a blowout. Jaguars versus Commanders, or sorry, the Commies. I still hesitate to call them the Commanders. That's just a terrible name. This is a tough one to pick as well, not because the teams are good. Whereas the Bills and Rams, those are Super Bowl caliber teams. Jaguars Commies are bottom feeders here, historically. I do have friends who are Jaguars fans. I'm going to give them the leg up here, just thinking Trevor Lawrence had a bad rookie season, bad coaching. I think they're a better team overall, but they did spend money in a lot of weird ways this offseason. Commies, Carson Wentz, I think is a solid quarterback. He tries to be a hero way too often, and we haven't seen him go back to what he was prior to his injury in his MVP caliber season. Terry McLaurin could be the difference maker here. Brian Robinson. If Brian Robinson were healthy, I would actually give it to the Commanders, but I'm going to give it to the Jags this time. They've got a healthy James Robinson, healthy Travis Etienne. They're just a healthy team going into it. The Commies aren't. So we're going to give it to the Jags here, but it'll be close. Packers-Vikings. At the Vikings, I actually think the Vikings are going to take this one. I think the Packers, with Allen Lazard being questionable, they're not quite the team that I would like to see them being yet. Their defense is going to be stingy, but you still are talking about a pretty decent offense here with the Vikings. I would call this a pseudo primetime game, so you could say that's a knock against Kirk Cousins, who historically has not played well in the spotlight. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I do think the Packers could very easily win this game, but I'm just going to go with the Vikings here. Next game, Giants-Titans. The Titans got worse. There's no doubt about that. The Giants got better. There's no doubt about that. Daniel Jones is still not as good of a quarterback to me as Ryan Tannehill. If Saquon Barkley comes back and is the player that he was his rookie year, I think the Giants win this game. I'm actually going to give it to the Giants. This one's a tough one as well. I'm going to give it to the Giants over the Titans. I just think the Titans are not the team they were last year. Now, if Derrick Henry comes out and he is anywhere near the player he was before his injury last year, Titans all the way. But I'm going to go with the Giants for this week. Raiders-Chargers, repeat of last year's game to put the Raiders into the playoffs. If the Chargers had just played for the tie, not called that timeout, I think both teams would have made it. Could have been a very different playoffs overall. I'm going to give it to the Chargers. It's at home. I think the Chargers are finally kind of getting over that stigma of not having any fans actually in the stadium. And Justin Herbert and that offense are just amazing. Now, if they have not improved their defense, which I can't imagine, your defense had to have improved. You just got freaking Khalil Mack. I mean, if nothing else, he takes you to a new level on defense. So they're going to be better. I think the Chargers win this game. It'll be the debut of the Derek Carr and Devontae Adams hookup, which I do think is going to be very profitable in fantasy this year. And it's actually one, again, that I'm capitalizing on in a couple of entries into the $1 Million Maker in FanDuel. But moving on, we got Chiefs-Cardinals. Cardinals last year, when they didn't have DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup, were abysmal, even though Kyler Murray is great. They do have Hollywood Brown now to kind of replace him for the first 7 games of the season due to suspension. I'm going to go Chiefs. Chiefs just seem like a more solid pick. Patrick Mahomes is an MVP caliber quarterback. I just think they are better overall, and they're going to find a way to win this game, even though it's in Arizona. Moving back on, Cowboys versus Buccaneers in Dallas, a repeat of the season opener last year. Bucks, they are basically turning into Swiss cheese on their offensive line very rapidly. They've had 3 major injuries this preseason alone, including losing their Pro Bowl caliber center. Cowboys did lose their Pro Bowl left tackle in Smith, so the wide receiving cores are interesting here. Cowboys, I'm going to say the Bucks edge the Cowboys in a very close game. Very, very close game. Sunday night primetime game. I think this may be Tom Brady's last hurrah, and I think Tom Brady could make a run at the Super Bowl here, but this is going to be a tough start for both teams. Somebody's got to lose. I'm going to pick the Bucs to win. Finally, we go to Monday night primetime. This is an easy pick. Broncos over Seahawks. Seahawks are going to be a bottom 5 team easily this year. Broncos over them, no problem. So, again, a lot of controversial opinions I feel like here, but that's my picks for this week. I'll probably do a little pregame tomorrow on the Falcons versus Saints. And otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, rise up.